Annyeong! Welcome to Dollightful and happy Valentine's Day! Today's project is a bit special. I'm collaborating with several other doll customizing YouTubers so that you can watch your fill of Valentine videos. Our theme is simply Valentine's Day, so I chose the lovable frilly and pink Pokemon Sylveon. Who better to represent a holiday about love than the Pokemon that only evolves if shown enough affection? To make Sylveon, I'll be using Spectra's body with Draculaura's head. This Draculaura's face has been stained, which is why I never used her. It makes her the perfect candidate for the airbrush. But first we need to remove both dolls' heads. Off comes Draculaura, and then Spectra. And something really unexpected happened. Somehow the neck peg slid out of the neck but stayed in the doll's head. So that's never happened to me before, but with a pair of pliers and a second pair of hands, we were able to reassemble the peg to the neck. Keeping the plastic heated up should help with reassembly. You can see the neck mold has taken damage, but we're going to fix this by wrapping it tightly with an elastic rubber band and dunking it back and forth from boiling water to cold water. Hopefully this will retrain the plastic in the correct shape, and it did! Better than I expected, actually. So with that little mishap behind us, let's turn to the head. I'm going to remove the rest of the factory paint with acetone before washing her in soapy water. Then it's airbrush time. Now if you follow my channel, you'll know I just did this with the mermaid, so I apologize for the redundancy. It was good practice for me though, and I coated the head much more evenly this time in only 3 layers of paint. I add some initial blushing to the cheeks and lips with soft pastels before giving the doll an initial 2 coats of sealant. Now the face-up begins. First with pink and then the brown, I use watercolor pencils to sketch out the initial line work. I want to keep the design very simple this time in reference to the Pokemon cartoon. I'm giving her a side-swept glance and a shy smile, all to make her appear more friendly and cute. Some people might wonder why I didn't just use Spectra's head. Well, I wanted my Sylveon to look young and spunky. Spectra's face molding looks more adult and has sharper features like the high cheekbones, so I didn't think she'd be as appropriate as Draculaura. When the color stops building, spray the doll's face again with your sealant. Next, I rough out where the pupils will sit and place the lower eyelashes. Sylveon is a really cute Pokemon and perfect for Valentine's Day, but my favorite Eevee evolution is actually Jolteon. Who's your favorite? To make the colors flat and cel shaded, I'm switching to acrylics to fill in the iris. Since her makeup is simple and she's very pale already, the old white highlights trick didn't do much for me this time, but I still painted them around the eyebrows and the Cupid's bow just for good measure. Here when I painted over the lower lashes. I'm not quite sure what my plan was here. I wanted to add another layer to the design or something, but in actuality, I just had to repaint the eyelashes later. And I don't think I did as good a job a second time either, so that was a bit of an oops. I'm adding in some last-minute eyeshadow in an attempt to soften up the makeup. To match the Pokemon, I'm giving her a single eye shine in the upper right corner. And we're done for now. I'll set her aside, and for the hair, I'm preparing wefts of acrylic yarn. You can learn how to do this whole process over at Mozekito's channel. Once the wefts are glued and ready, I'm going to glue them directly to her head using Elmer's Glue All. When you're doing this, make sure you've got the hairstyle planned ahead of time. I want Sylveon to have a pixie cut, so I want the hair to spiral inward with no part. I start at the hairline and work my way up, pressing each weft on piece by piece. Eventually, when that's done and dry, I'm left with one final step. Since I don't want a part in the hair, I decided to prepare one last super weft. Binding it in the middle will allow me to thread it through a large embroidery needle and plunge it into the head. There we go! Now she just needs a trim and styling, but that will have to wait until I make all the accessories. Since I did make the face fairly simple, her outfit and accessories will be the main assets of this doll. To make her ears, I cut the basic shape in pink fabric, stitch the pieces together, and turn them. I then form and insert a jewelry wire in the shape of the ear and pat it out with some fluff. Actually, the fluff is from the yarn hair I prepared earlier. Yay for reusing materials! This will get the ear to stand up and provide little metal prongs to insert into the head. After sewing the ear closed at the bottom, it's time to make them fluffy. This was one reason I used the yarn method to make the hair, so that it would look appropriate and match the ears. So one layer at a time, I work from the tip to the base. On the front of the ears, I glue the hair around the inner ear shape so that it's exposed. For more definition of the shapes, I decided to stitch around the inner ear, causing a bit of a visual separation. Should I have done this before the fluff went on? Yes. Yes, I should have. Lastly, for the ears, I painted the inside part blue, just like the character. I approached her tail the same way as the ears, and I also made Sylveon's signature ribbons. To form those, I measure how long I'd want them coming off the doll and cut the shapes out of white cotton fabric. Once I had sewn them together and clipped the corners, I turned them so they'd have a nice finished edge. Turning long skinny tubes can be tough, so use what you've got. I'm using the handle of this paintbrush, for example. I iron the little guys flat and form the wire shapes to match the ribbons, just like I did with the ears. I also decided to give 2 tiny support stitches on either side of the ribbon in hopes of keeping the wire at the edges where I want them. Using acrylic paint, I fill in Sylveon's signature designs. For her bows, I didn't bother putting wire in them, but they were assembled much the same way. Sewn, turned, stuffed, ironed, and stitched to each other to form these puffy little butterfly shapes. Taking inspiration from the Pokemon, I designed the doll a 3-tiered skirt, fading from the darkest blue in the design towards white. And because it's Valentine's Day, let's put some more hearts on this, using hot glue. I also crafted her a basic shirt and a cute pair of bloomers to complete the ensemble. For her back paws, I'm giving her cuddly pink socks, and for her front paws, I'm just going to paint the hands themselves to match. I sealed the paint afterwards using matte varnish. Now that all these pieces are complete, it's time to assemble the doll. I stitched the ribbons to the bows, then the big bow to the shirt. It was fairly heavy, so I ended up giving the thing more support by tying an embroidery thread behind her neck. Next, the ears. Using a pair of pliers, I feed in each metal prong one at a time. Then go in through the neck hole to twist the 2 ends together on the inside. For the tail, I fed the wire in behind the skirt and twisted it around her body out of sight. Now her head can go back on her body, and she can finally get that haircut. I waited until now so that I could cut the hair with the ears to make sure everything worked out in relation to each other. If you're hesitant about cutting hair, look up some tutorials online first, and go slow. Unlike human hair, doll hair won't grow back. Yarn wants to clump, so I'm counting on that to pull off this spiky pixie cut look I'm going for. I'm much more familiar with nylon and saran doll hair, so working with yarn was a bit of a struggle for me. Let's see, what else? Her hair bow. I'm going to tie it around her ear with some pink embroidery thread. If that doesn't stay, you can make it permanent with hot glue if you'd like. And finally, with the hair trimmed and everything else in place, I added eyelashes to the doll and painted on the finishing gloss varnish touches. With a couple bow flourishes added to her outfit, Sylveon is done. Well, kind of. The enormous ears actually bothered me a lot. I thought it made the doll unbalanced and a little amateur looking, so I went through the effort of crafting a smaller pair and reattaching them. I think she looks much better now. I also changed my mind last minute about the 3D eyelashes too. So, a lot of last minute changes to this doll. Don't forget to head over and meet Sylveon's friends, the other dolls of this Valentine's Day line. There's Hextian, Seasonal Frostbite, Moonlight Jewel, and Mozekito's videos to look forward to. You can click the links on screen now or find them in the description box below. Whether you're with a loved one or hanging out with friends, I hope your Valentine's Day is full of fun. Don't forget to munch on a chocolate or two. My favorite are the coconuts. Stay artsy! Annyeong! Also, if I could squeeze in one more message here, the Dollightful store is up on Society 6. You can purchase a handful of merchandise, including Dollightful t-shirts, hoodies, mugs. I've also worked up some fun pastel galaxy designs that might tickle your fancy, so take a look. Thanks!
In general, it was great to meet them, but on the second night, everybody had gone to sleep, and Harold and I were still up chatting, drinking the beer.